Da! Aí não, Violeta.
Timo, t'es là? Ah, sim.
Yo.
Il faut accepter, mec.
Bon, c'était dans les toilettes, mec. Je t'énerve pas, mec. Ah, ماري منيح نقز. السلام
Waouh, il m'a
عليكم.
tué.
السلام عليكم. Ça s'annonce bien. Ah, on est mort là. ماشي trois en même temps, oui, oui.
درباني.
عاش مش جاب ثلاثة. وفين غادي تما الأستاذ بي؟ قلت لي نموتو شي 700 مرة مع هذا. طيب.
واخا دابا ندير عسالي سميتو غادي ندير
لا جبدات صغير جبدات صغير. Fuck me. Putain, on est mort. Oh, come on. Ça me capte des voiles, lui, il était 1% ça.
Ah, mais dès le numéro, c'est une merde, ça. J'aurais pu l'attaquer. Il est devant la porte.
Mais il est con, quoi. C'est qui a lancé ça?
Débile du numéro 3.
الله سير اشتري بيش خلاف. استهدك قال لهم It's okay if you don't DPS for 3 seconds guys. Survive is better. سيد الكوين هنا. Putain, je suis mort. Ils vont pas le faire. Fuck me. Yes. Mais ils sont malades.
Je crois que j'ai une bague ou un truc dans le genre.
أعطيني سروال أصاحبي.
واه مشي هنا داك السواد.
سروال زرق خارج باش تشاف اجي نعطي لك دابا.
اه زرق. صحابني عطاوك سروال موف.
هنا
عطاوني اون باغ
والو حتى حاجة بيربل ما شتي حتى حاجة. Je suis en train de perdre là donc les coffres que je peux ouvrir pour rien. Ouf. Vas-y, relance, relance. Il faut
صافي
manger.
شوية. Je relance tout seul.
Non, vas-y, je vais manger un truc.
Welcome to this Everything You Need to Know About Vampire Survivors video, where I will talk about plenty of tips, tricks, game mechanics, and other things. I try to keep the video below surface level, so not just obvious things that you are guaranteed to discover while playing, but rather things that if you don't know about them, you will not know about them, or there's a chance that you miss them. However, I will still include a lot of things that I would think that basic, like what is, for example, projectile in the game, where you could run the test to see what the results are, but now you have them in the video for you, and you don't have to do this. You may notice that this video is incredibly long, and there's even a first part that you can watch after this video if you want to. So I would highly appreciate it if you could give it a like just to help it outperform a little bit better on YouTube. Note that for some of these I will refer you to the wiki simply because it's very time sensitive and in 3, 4, 5 months it may look very different, but the wiki always gets updated so you will have it most information. Whenever you start the game, you are in the main menu, and there is one tab that a lot of people tend to ignore, though it's one of the most important tabs that exist, which is the Unlock tab. This lists all the unlocks that you can have in this game, except for a few that are hidden to begin with, but will later be shown. So I highly advise that you always check this out, because this answers 95% of your questions on how to do certain things. Then there's also the power-up menu, and here you can buy everything to power up every single character, and it doesn't matter in which order you buy them, but keep in mind that whenever you buy something, the costs go equally up. So while it doesn't matter that you, for example, buy stuff in a certain order, it will become more expensive, so you are advised to go for the things that you value the most first. Note that the moment you refund, you get all of your money back and nothing is lost, so you're free to just buy the cheap things you can afford first, and when you then have more gold, you can just refund and buy better things, like for example, a mount. There are currently 41 playable characters in Vampire Survivors, of which 25 are normal characters and 16 are secret characters. As of right now, you have 5 playable stages in the game, as well as 2 bonus stages, 4 challenge stages, and 1 special stage. There's one more that is hidden that you unlock with Moonglow, but I'll not spoil more about it, so just discover it for yourself. For the stage progression, it is advised that instead of first finishing Mad Forest, you go over to Inlaid Library and finish this one while also farming up gold to become stronger, since Inlaid Library is an easier stage. There are some ways that will be a lot more difficult further down the line, but there are a ton of farm ways that allow you to get all the weapons that you need. For the rest of the stages, the progression is fine, where you don't have to switch it up. Each of them have their own difficult part. On the Dairy Blend, there are some ways that are incredibly difficult to begin with, especially the final one. On Ghetto Tower, it's all in all that you get less experience across the board. And on Capella, this is kind of combined, where you have more difficult waves and less experience. Talking about all the stages, the number one advice that I want to give you is stop running, instead start killing. Most people that start out playing the game panic quite easily, especially in situations where this is not required and they are super safe. So I advise you that you get used to how much HP the enemies have, how much damage your weapons deal, and how they work, because else you just run away, you don't become stronger, and once the next wave spawns that is more powerful, you will die regardless. Every single stage has one or even more relics on them, but the one that you should focus on is the one on the daily plan called Milky Way Map. Whenever you pause the game, you'll have a map that shows you all the relics, all the items on the stages, etc. And then you can go back to the Mad Forest, to the library, and unlock all the relics, where some of them are just cosmetics and don't help you all too much, while others will give you insane power increases. One of those relics is the so-called Random Matsu, which unlocks the Arcana in this game. Arcana are quite wild, with some of them having very wonky effects, but all in all they are super powerful, and you want to make sure that you collect all of them. Once you have the map unlocked, you'll realize that every single stage has item pickups on them, and these are incredibly powerful, since when you pick them up, they don't replace one of those that you own, and instead they are additional ones. Now if you pick them up while you have 5 passive weapons, Then the next one that you pick up will fill out the sixth slot, so you want to avoid that, and instead you want to pick them up when you have already 6 passive items, which is the maximum in this game, and then they will be added as 7th, 8th, 9th one. And one very important note, let's say for example you're stuck in a run, you need to leave, or you just wanted to unlock something very quickly. All you have to do is hit escape, go to options and click on quit. You still receive all the gold and the unlocks that you earned in this run, and this is how most people do it whenever there's a new update. They just check out in the unlock tab what they need, they quickly unlock it, and then leave the game after 2 or 3 minutes. Now I will talk about game mechanics, and the first one being chest evolutions. In general, if a boss spawns at 10 minutes or later, they will always be able to evolve your weapons if you fulfill the criteria. However, this has nothing to do with when you pick up the chest. This is determined in the code what each chest will contain, as well as odds of how likely they are to be basic chests, treasure chests, and enter chests. There are 3 exceptions for the stages. The first one being Mad Forest, the very first chest that you can obtain there at minute 1 from the bat is an evolution chest. However, you only have a 30% chance to get this one. This chance is increased with the more luck you have. Then we have the daily plans where every single chest can evolve. That means all of those are of 10 minutes. And on Capella, it's the same story where every single chest can evolve. Now, one thing you may notice while playing is that level 20 and level 40 take an incredibly long time to level up. This has to do with the formula in the game that calculates how much experience you need to level up. And this is important for you because once you reach level 20 and 40, you know there will be a large time gap until you get more weapons. So make sure that you got the most important things prior to that, because it will take you quite some time to reach this level. While playing the game,
No.
Street Fighter 2, the iconic fighting game, is often credited for changing everything, from its large lineup of selectable characters to its player versus player combat and intricate combos. This genre-defining game set a precedence for all of what was to come, with the influence of Street Fighter 2 being present in almost all fighters going forward. While this is the case, this raises the question: where do you draw the line? What is the difference between games that are said to be inspired by Street Fighter and games that are accused of copying Street Fighter? Today, we are going to explore this very question. Let's see what happened when Capcom deemed one fellow publisher of flying too close to the sun and creating a fighting game that, in Capcom's opinion at least, was such a blatant rip-off of their all-time great that they would feel the need to take them to court to seek payment for damages. I'm of course talking about Fighter's history. The 1993 title Capcom would insist was copyright infringement due to its strong resemblance to the popular Street Fighter 2. Holding these thoughts within this content, we are going to take an in-depth look at the franchise's existence, its legacy, and most importantly of all, see if it really did infringe on Capcom's biggest cash cow of the era. With all of that said, hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. This is the insane story of Fighter's history. and the unprecedented Street Fighter 2 copyright lawsuit. Yeah. Regardless of the countless imitations being made over the years, Street Fighter remains the king of fighters, with the art of fighting in Street Fighter 6 proving that the classic franchise still has the killer instinct to be one of the eternal champions. In this virtual fighter where world heroes assemble, in a crazy twist, even Terry Bogard can take part in Mortal Kombat in this ultimate fighting mega mix. Use my affiliate link via the comment to get a massive 74% off this game and a huge discount on the game Year 2 Ultimate Pass. Get up to 90% off of thousands of AAA, indie, modern, and retro games, and grab yourself a shopping list of titles for next to nothing today. There is something on there for everyone. Step into the captivating world of fighting history. Game that over 30 years after its release now promises both nostalgia and intrigue. A game that, I must add, even if you have never played it before, will likely feel very, very familiar. Released in arcades in 1993 by the seasoned veterans at Data East, this title emerged from a company that had long been a contender in the gaming arena. Beginning their journey back in the late 70s, Data East successfully carved a niche out in the Japanese market before swiftly establishing a presence in the United States. With classics like Robocop and Burger Time under their belts, they were no strangers to arcade excellence. Yet, with the advent of fighters' history, they were poised to explore dangerous new territory. From the moment you engage with this game, you can't help but feel an uncanny familiarity with the begin. For instance, the Fighter Select screen, bathed in a striking blue hue, will instantly conjure up memories of the roster selection screen from another famous fighter. However, of course, your deja vu certainly won't just end here. As matches connect, your nostalgia gland will continue to swell, particularly the moment you hear the electrifying shout of "Round 1, fight!" with the announcer's voice offering up a haunting echo of the iconic classic. Round 1, fight! Aside from these surface level similarities, commonalities don't end there. The match graphics mirror the famous format too, and as you dive deeper, you will start to notice a striking resemblance in character movement and life bars, all echoing the very essence of Street Fighter 2. One thing is for sure, the developers behind this game clearly love Capcom's effort and were determined to create a fighting game as similar to it as possible. They influenced characters like Mizuguchi and even unleashed moves that are almost definitely based on the legendary Hadouken. You know, the move that when shouted sounds exactly like a man from nuclear greeting of a man named Ken. Hadouken, did you have a great day down to mines? As one might expect, though, this controversy goes beyond coincidentally similar-looking fireballs flying out of people's fists. For example, when a combatant faces defeat, their slow-motion demise lingers in the air for a few seconds. Fucking Capcom was all-time great. And then, after the bout is concluded, the victor delivers a signature win quote, and a large image is shown of their defeated opponent in a bloody state. While the echoes of Street Fighter 2 resonate throughout fighter's history, it's not just in the obvious visual similarities that the intrigue lies, as the game is mechanically close to Street Fighter 2 as well. For example, the game features a 6-button configuration, offering players a nuanced blend of 3 strengths of punches and kicks. Mechanics that are familiar to seasoned fighters, but mechanics that certainly originated in Street Fighter. Also, like in Street Fighter 2, the expansive roster includes characters hailing from various corners of the globe, each with their unique styles alongside formidable boss characters waiting to challenge the player at the end of their journey. Yet, anyone familiar with these sort of elements will be more than aware that these are staples of the fighting game genre as a whole, not exclusive to fighting history or any other fighting game for that matter. However, in this instance, it seemed that it was the combination of these features, layered on top of the previously mentioned visuals and auditory cues, that built up a picture that was compelling enough for this game to grab Capcom's attention. After all, it is hard to deny that this game feels more intertwined with Street Fighter 2 than many of its contemporaries, creating an experience that invites a lot of scrutiny at the time. Let's be fair, if you played Fighter's history, you basically played Street Fighter 2. The title features many of the same bells and whistles, or should I say, fireballs. It's impossible to argue. The presentation seems almost like a reflection, an echo of the genre-defining classic. But still, despite all of this lies a question. If the developers go too far and simply rip off another great game instead of attempting to create a unique piece of art for themselves, or is Fighter's History an honest standalone title that can build off the back of its own? Well, Capcom certainly is a performer. But before we dive further into the lunacy and litigation surrounding this game, let's talk about some of the elements that do make Fighters History unique. Now, everything I've just mentioned was probably among Data East's most shameless factors in copying the Street Fighter 2 formula. In its defense, in my opinion at least, there's a twist that elevates Fighters History from mere imitation. And let's celebrate that. Enter the weak point system, a mechanic that adds a new layer of strategy to the combat. To put it simply, in this Data East title, each fighter possesses a specific weak point, often highlighted by armor clothing. When targeted repeatedly, these weak points not only stun opponents, but also increase damage dealt, inviting players to think tactically about their attack. This unique feature distinguishes Fighters History in a genre crowded with clones and demonstrates at least one function that can be found in the title that innovates rather than imitates. But what were this game's characters? How original are those guys? Well, at the heart of the game stands Ray McDougal, an American fighter positioned as the mascot and protagonist. With a balanced moveset that includes a rush attack, fireball, and anti-air kick, each style leans more towards Terry Bogard than any Street Fighter character, yet whispers of Ken can still be felt on the side. The roster also features Louis Fei Lin, a self-assured fighter who views herself as the pinnacle of beauty, armed with long-range defensive attacks and an armored chestplate to shield her vulnerabilities. He serves the franchise's homage to Chun-Li. But of course, the colourful lineup doesn't stop there. Next, there's Misoguchi, a lovable Japanese martial artist whose projectile attacks evoke the iconic Hadouken. Though he embodies a certain comedic folly, drawing parallels with who would come to be known as Dan in the Street Fighter Alpha series, although he is essentially this game's hero. Building up on the lineup, there's Yoko Kano, a skilled judo practitioner who brings both grace and grip to the roster. There's Matt Jade, a brash British fighter with aspirations of rock stardom, infusing the game with a vibrant personality. We then have Sam Che, a Muay Thai fighter from the Thailand, who mirrors the iconic Aiden from the Street Fighter, while Lee Wendu showcases the art of Bagwaoja, adding depth to the diversified style. One of my personal favourites, though, just might be G, a flamboyant and narcissistic gymnast who struts into battle with an air of arrogance. With his gymnastic movements and design, he draws comparisons to Guile. Another cool addition is Mastorius, a character inspired by the legendary professional wrestler Bruiser Brody, who can unleash a repertoire of wrestling moves, showcasing a raw physicality that stands apart from the others. However, the intrigue doesn't stop with the playable fighters. The game's bosses add to the character's diversity too. Amongst these, we have a clown, a circus performer, and skilled acrobat who can curl himself into a ball to look attack. Then there's, of course, Karlov, the imposing, fire-breathing strongman who's become a mascot for Data East. Known for his appearances across multiple titles, including, of course, his own game from 1987 titled Karlov. Undeniably, his presence adds a sense of continuity within the Data East universe, linking Fighter's history to the company's broader legacy, and providing another point separating it from Street Fighter. While the character roster shares some similarities with Street Fighter 2, I wouldn't go as far as to call them more pronounced than those found in other fighting games of the era. However, this would not prevent Fighter's history's graphics, gameplay mechanics, and overall presentation drawing sharp scrutiny. As already mentioned, Capcom deemed Fighter's history too closely aligned with their flagship title, leading to a legal showdown in 1994. That year, the courtroom became a stage for a deep dive into the game's design, as Judge Orrick examined the evidence. Amidst the heated legal battle, one detail stood out, striking similarities between the two games, with a particular focus on Fei Lin, a character many claimed was nothing more than a Chun-Li clone. Tension mounted as both sides prepared to face off in court. But just when the outcome seemed certain, the judge issued a shocking verdict. Siding not with Capcom, but with Data East. The reasoning, the disputed elements were ruled to be sans affair. Standard features so common they were beyond the reach of copyright law. Tom's affair, a term that, yes, is indeed branch, refers to those essential, almost obligatory elements that you expect to see in a particular genre of books, films, or even games. Think of it like the signature ingredient in a recipe, so common and integral that no one can truly claim ownership of them. In the case of Fighter's history, while the game undeniably followed the Street Fighter formula more closely than something like Mortal Kombat, Data East wasn't breaking any laws. They were simply working within the accepted framework of the fighting game genre, using common elements that, by nature, are free for anyone to use. What Capcom saw as infringement was, in the eyes of the law, just another example of these genre-specific building blocks that no company can truly own. While Capcom, one of the industry's biggest powerhouses, pursued the case with relentless aggression, it seemed like a calculated attempt to crush competitors. Data East, already facing the daunting challenge of going head-to-head with perhaps the biggest brand in arcades at the time, found itself in the crosshairs of a company that many believed was more interested in stifling competition than protecting creativity. Like many Japanese companies of the period, Capcom's actions seemed driven by an insatiable appetite for dominance, using its financial clout to assert control over the genre, rather than to protect art. Like many predators in the copyright space, they were attempting to use copyright as a sword rather than a form of protection, like it is legally intended. Fortunately, though, in a glorious turn of events, justice was indeed done, and the underdog triumphed. The court ruling was much needed relief for developers at Data East, who were simply trying to carve out their own space in a cutthroat industry. As Capcom's aggressive tactics were thwarted, the case became a striking example of how even the giants of gaming can be held accountable, proving that creativity should never be monopolized by the rich or powerful. This decision not only cemented Fighter's history as a legitimate contender in the genre, but also ignited fresh debates about the blurry lines between creativity from art and imitation in game design. As players dive into the game, they're left to ponder a deeper question. How do these characters and their stories shape the ongoing discourse around originality in the fighting game genre? With a cast of characters brimming with diversity and a corpse drama fueling its legacy, Fighter's history becomes more than just a game. It becomes a testament to the complexities of inspiration. But, retrospectively, as audacious as Capcom's claim may have sounded, this instance wasn't the first time the company had been invaded with a similar lawsuit in the fighting game media. You see, back in the ancient year of 1984, Tekken released Karate Champ, a groundbreaking game that laid the foundation for the one-on-one fighting genre. It featured a variety of moves and a best-of-three match format that would later become staples in the genre. And who was behind bringing this revolutionary game to the public? Data East. They published the first ever martial arts fighting game, essentially helping to create the very genre Street Fighter 2 existed in. Fast forward to the Street Fighter 2 case, and Data East used this very game as their strongest defense against Capcom, claiming that Karate Champ was the true originator of competitive fighting games. As for the fight against Capcom, this wasn't the first time Data East found itself in a legal battle. In 1985, they took on Epic's computer software, accusing them of ripping off Karate Champ with their game World Karate Championship. Acting arguably as deplorable as Capcom in the mid-90s, it would be back then that Data East would learn legally what they could and couldn't get away with when making fighting games. The similarities between Karate Champ and World Karate Championship were once again undeniable. Both games had karate matches between two opponents, fighters dressed in identical red and white outfits, and even referees looked strikingly alike. Data East argued that Epic not only copied their gameplay, but also infringed on their copyright and trademark. Shockingly, at first the court agreed. Epic was ordered to recall all copies of World Karate Championship, and it seemed like a clear victory for Data East, but then came the twist. Epic's appealed the decision, arguing that while Data East owned the copyright to Karate Champ, there was no real proof that they had directly copied it. Could it have been just a coincidence? Was the similarities between the two games simply a result of shared genre conventions? Well, as the appeal progressed, the court reversed its decision, siding with Epic. The court ruled that the similarities weren't substantial enough to warrant copyright infringement, concluding that no substantial similarity of expression would be found when the idea and its expression are inseparable. The court ruled that the similarities between karate champ and world karate championship stems from the basic idea of a karate game, an inevitable outcome when two developers base their creation on the same concept. Think about it. If two teams set out to design a karate game, they're bound to produce something that looks alike, with shared features like karate moves, matches, and scoring systems. Data East, attempt to be the only company allowed to make one-on-one karate games, was in the court size unrealistic. Had Data East won, the ripple effect could have changed gaming history as we know it. The first Street Fighter, which was built on the foundation of Karate Champ, might never have existed. For without that, we wouldn't have the iconic Street Fighter 2 follow. Interestingly, Data East seem to have learned from this case, perhaps emboldened by their legal experience. By the time they developed Fighter's history, it closely mirrored Street Fighter 2, and they knew exactly how far they could push the line without crossing it into a legal territory. While other companies might have been hesitant to risk such similarities, Data East had already been through the legal fire, gaining a clear understanding of what would and wouldn't constitute infringement. And here's the twist. While Fighter's history is undeniably a legal Street Fighter 2 could owe, the very existence of Street Fighter itself might owe something to Karate Champ. Without that early influence, the fighting game genre we know today could look completely different. Could it be that without Data East's first venture into karate games, the legendary Street Fighter series might have never come to life? Holding all of this, well, Fighter's history in mind, Fighter's history would live to fight another day, which would include it receiving a sequel in 1994. So, take a look at this. Aha! Carnival's Revenge, a name that might not ring as many bells as Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but it holds a special place in the hearts of some retro fighting game fans. This sequel to Fighter's history is the kind of hidden gem that can really catch you off guard, with its quirky charm and hardcore gameplay. Of course, like its predecessor, you start by picking from a roster of 13 fighters, each with their own eccentric flair. And trust me, this lineup is wild. You have all the characters from the previous game playable, as well as two bosses, as well as two brand new captivating fighters who join the fray. Daji Muhaba is a nature-loving practitioner of the Hokuto Shinkai Karate, a style allegedly from Kenya. He participates in the Great Grapple Tournament in order to fund his self-made environmentalist organisation and to protect the African wildlife from poachers. Also, it's of note that years before Juri became a Street Fighter character, Karloff's Revenge would receive his own young female Korean Taekwondo practitioner. Both her parents were top-class martial artists. Once again, like Juri, she participates in the Great Grapple Tournament in order to investigate her parents' disappearance. See what I mean, though, about there apparently only being so many fighting game tropes to jump between? Away from the characters, the real magic of Karma's Revenge, of course, lies in the gameplay mechanics. On the surface, it feels familiar, a typical 2D fighting game where you punch, kick, and unleash devastating special moves. But it has some new tricks up its sleeve, including a new exciting gameplay mechanic called the 1-2 attack system, which seriously shakes things up in Karma's Revenge. This feature adds a fresh layer of strategy and flow to combat. So here's how it works. By pressing the heavy attack button while executing a light stack or blocking, the delay between the light stack is reduced, making combos smoother, deadlier. It's a hidden gem of a feature, not even listed on the arcade instruction card. However, if you dig into the final page of the Neo Geo home version manual, you'll discover it there, offering players a secret weapon to master for tighter, faster combos. Now, while the graphics might not stand up to the flashy games of its era, there's something undeniably charming about the vibrant, pixelated stages and the larger-than-life characters' sprites. Karnov himself is this bold, fire-breathing, mustachioed strongman who, as mentioned, was already significant to Data East history by this point. So, continuing his legacy with crossover events was something most gamers didn't even know they needed. As you probably guessed by my mention of a Neo Geo manual earlier, Karnov's Revenge was released on the Neo Geo, one of the most powerful arcade systems at the time. That gave the game the ability to push detailed character sprites, including animations, but it also meant that not many people got their hands on it at home since the Neo Geo was expensive. Arguably, though, this exclusivity has only added to the game's top status. Although it is of notice it arrived on the Sega Saturn, but again exclusively in Japan, and not until 1997. The game is brutal and unforgiving at times, and like its predecessor, is often compared to Street Fighter 2. It didn't quite have the success or exposure that Capcom's Juggernaut did, or even close for that matter, but there's a dedicated fan base that still battles it out occasionally. And Karnov, he still has to do. Speaking of big bad fighters, there is a hidden final opponent in Karnov's Revenge, Ox, who is based on the Ox that players faced in the early Data East fighting game Karate Champ. So an awesome little callback there. The original Finals History game today is mostly discussed due to winning a court case against Capcom. But why would anyone really care about Finals Revenge in 2024? Well, let's just say it's a relic of the fighting game genre's golden age. A window into an era where developers were experimenting, trying to one-up each other in creativity. It's got a decent vibe, but with enough depth and heart to keep you playing, especially if you're a fan of retro games or discovering quirky, off-the-beaten-path titles. To move you
last night was